Welcome back as we continue in our book of 1 Samuel. Today is April the 9th. I'm David, and our scripture today is 1 Samuel chapters 4 through 9. And our story begins with the rise of the Philistines to take dominant power of the region at the time. Israel assembles its army to confront the Philistines, but the first engagement doesn't go so well. So they lose 4,000 men in the battle. Now, it's important to note that there's no king in Israel. Eli is the judge, and he's not present, nor are any of the priests or any of the representatives of God on hand for them to inquire of God as to what they should do. So they're acting in their own strength. So the army's leaders get together, and they're completely befuddled as to why they lost. Well, someone comes up with the idea or either remembers that the Ark of the Covenant used to go before the people into battle during Moses and Joshua's day, so this must be a good idea. Again, they don't consult God, but in their own arrogance, they make this decision. The ark is brought up to the conflict along with Hophni and Phinehas, Eli's two worthless sons pretending to be priests. Go back and look in chapter 2, and you'll understand why I call them pretenders. Well, when the ark reaches them at the camp, all the army of Israel shouts with joy and causes a great roar. Well, somehow the Philistines knew, there are gods in the camp. Notice they said gods. This caused fear among the Philistines for a moment, but their leaders bolstered them on, and they fought the next day, and they defeated Israel. They killed 30,000 Israelites. Eli's sons died, and the ark was captured as a war prize. And the Philistines took it and withdrew to their city of Ashkelon. Now, a survivor of the battle brings news to Eli, and he learns his two sons are dead and that the ark was taken, and he falls over backward and breaks his neck. Even Phinehas' wife went into early labor and died in childbirth. Her son survived, and his name was Ichabod, which means the glory has departed from Israel. Now this is where things get really interesting. The Philistines take the ark, and they put it up in one of their temples to their god Dagon. And from the very beginning, the Lord begins to show the Philistines what Israel failed to understand. God will not be treated like a trophy to be used to be put on display as a point of pride. That very day, the Philistines entered their house of Dagon, and they found that their statue had fallen over before the ark like it was bowing down. Well, they set him back up again, but the next day, the same thing happens. Again on the third day, but this time, Dagon's head and hands are cut off. Notice I didn't say broke off, and I think that's fairly significant. The next thing God did was send plagues and tumors on the Philistines. And it soon became a game of hot potato, and nobody wanted anything to do with the ark because the plagues and tumors followed it everywhere it went. Well, ultimately, after 7 months, the Philistines have had enough, and they decide to send it back. However, the priests of their own gods warned the lords of the Philistines that they can't send it back without some kind of peace offering. So they crafted 5 golden tumors and a bunch of golden mice and put them inside a box. They built a cart. They put the ark on it along with their peace offering. They have a cart pulled by 2 cows that have never pulled a cart before that are still nursing calves. Now, if you know anything about mama cows still nursing calves, they'll do just about anything to get back to their calf. And also, when you hitch up an animal to anything for the very first time, you usually get some kind of rodeo event until they calm down and get used to it. Well, they reason that if the cows wander off back to Israel without being led or driven, then they'll know that the God of Israel has accepted their peace offering. And if not, all this has just been some horrible coincidence. Well, the cows do pull it straight back into Israel to the town of Beth Shemesh. Well, Israel's overjoyed, and they took the ark and placed it on a big rock, and they used the wood from the cart to build a fire, and they sacrificed the 2 cows on it. Then they looked inside the box with the golden tumors and the mice, and somehow they knew that God had afflicted the Philistines with this. But these Israelites forgot one important thing. Only certain Levites had the responsibility of looking after the ark and tending it. Well, apparently none of them were in this city because 70 people died for looking upon the ark or just being nosy. So they asked from the city of Kiriath Jearim for them to come and get it. This makes me think that they knew that the Levites of that city were of the clan that had the responsibility for the ark. They consecrated one of the Levites, Eleazar, to have charge of the ark. Then we get to chapter 7, and Samuel steps into his role as judge over Israel. He leads the people back to worshiping God and getting rid of all the pagan gods and turning their hearts back toward God. Then God once again went and fought for Israel, defeating the Philistines, driving them out of all their territory, and he gave them peace, and with the Amorites as well. And in chapter 8, Samuel is an old man, and he appoints his sons to be judged. But just like Eli's sons, these guys are worthless, and they take bribes and pervert justice. Both things God said not to do. And his sons were so bad that the people came to Samuel and complained about them and said, "Give us a king instead." Well, Samuel wasn't real pleased with this. In fact, he took the matter to God. And God tells him, "Hey, give them what they want. They're not rejecting you, Samuel. They're rejecting me." So he warns Israel of all the consequences they'll experience with a king ruling over them. And if you want to look at this list, you'll find it in chapter 8, 10 through 18. But here's just a few of them. He will take your sons and your daughters to serve his needs. He'll take the best of your land, and he'll take 1/10 of your produce. But the people refused to listen to Samuel, and Samuel asked the Lord once again, "Is you sure about giving Israel a king?" And he tells Samuel, "Give them what they want." Well, we're not like that, are we? Have you ever been to the point like Israel where you settled for something that seemed good, only to find out that if you just waited, the Lord would have given you something far better? I suspect the answer is probably yes. Well, God's plans and his ways are always higher than our ways. How often do we settle for second best? How often do we treat God like a trophy to show him off, but our spirits are dead inside because we've become blinded by pride and conceit? Something to think about. Well, tomorrow we'll see how the search for a king turns out. So we'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for joining us today.